those of you who are planning to take a trip to the Philippines at this time, like us, here is an overview of our pre-flight preparations. Obviously, the first thing we did was to book our flights. In our case, we'd be coming from Spain. We'd be leaving from Malaga International Airport because that's the closest airport from where we are staying right now. The most direct route we can find was Malaga, Istanbul, Manila via Turkish Airlines. That includes a 7-hour layover in Istanbul. We decided to book directly at Turkish airline website rather than through a third-party booking site. So in case of possible cancellation or rebooking, we would only be dealing with Turkish Airline directly. Less headache that way. After booking the flight, the next step we did was to book our hotel. Now, it should be noted that for former citizens or non-OFWs, one of the requirements to be allowed entry to the Philippines is a pre-booked accredited quarantine hotel. That means you need to book your hotel accommodation certified by the Department of Tourism and Bureau of Quarantine in advance, prior to departure from your current location. To get a list of those accredited hotels, let's go to the website quarantine.doh.gov.ph. When you get to this page, just scroll down until you see this box. Click on that. Here is the long list of accredited hotels. I'm just showing you the Metro Manila area because that is our port of entry. Of course, there's a different list for Clark or Cebu port of entry. Anyway, as you see here, there's a lot of choices, although personally, I'm only familiar with a few of them. You might notice that they only list the name of the hotels and their general locations. It will be up to you to search info and then book the hotel of your choice as long as it's on the list. In our case, I just used booking.com. We'll talk about that in a short while. So again, this is the website to check the list of accredited quarantine hotels in Metro Manila, may it be for mandatory or stringent quarantine. Now, what is the difference between mandatory and stringent quarantine? After some research, apparently, upon arrival at NAIA, DOH and Philippine Coast Guard will be holding a briefing and thermal scanning through the Bureau of Quarantine holding area. Quarantine personnel will then identify travelers for either stringent or mandatory quarantine based on the following. Stringent quarantine means if you are showing flu-like symptoms or your country of origin or layover is one where there is a high level of community transmission based on the World Health Organization's latest situation report. On the other hand, mandatory quarantine means if you are not showing flu-like symptoms and your country of origin or layover has not been classified as an area with a high level of community transmission of the disease based on the World Health Organization's latest situation report. Just to be on the safe side, we chose a hotel that is qualified for both stringent and mandatory quarantine. So next is how to book your hotel. First option, through a third-party booking site. Sites such as Expedia, Orbitz, Booking.com, Hotels.com, etc. Second option, you can Google the contact info of the hotel and email or call them for booking. Third option, ask your family or friends in the Philippines to call and or book for you if you cannot do that yourself. Long distance call can be very expensive. And most importantly, the last part is print your hotel booking confirmation or have it readily accessible on your phone. Now, what are the things to consider in choosing a hotel? First, we should take note that only 1 to 2 persons are allowed in each room. That means family members only. Second, choose the price range that suits your budget in case you might need to quarantine for 14 days. Third, some hotels offer full board. That means they include 3 meals in a day. If not, you can have some food delivered by Grab. Fourth, some hotels offer airport pickup, either for free or with additional fee. You just need to ask. Next thing to consider is the location. If you still have to take a domestic flight to your final destination, it's better to choose a hotel near the airport. Your choice though. Next, you should keep in mind that no private vehicles are allowed to pick you up at the airport. You can take the recommended taxis or the vehicle that you arranged with your hotel. Also worth noting is that booking a hotel for quarantine purposes is mandatory. You cannot have the option to just go on home quarantine even if you live in Metro Manila. And the last thing to consider is that PCR test results will be within 24 to 48 hours, sometimes less, but it's better to book your hotel for at least 2 nights. So, which hotel did we book? Ideally, location-wise, we should have booked a hotel in Pasay area since we have a domestic flight to take later. However, we chose Ascat Makati because it's a serviced apartment with 2 bedrooms. It is suited for 2 adults and 2 kids. We didn't want to choose a hotel wherein we would need to book 2 separate rooms, with the possibility of not even being allowed to get out of the room to check on each other. Moving on, after you have booked your flight and hotel, you also need to book your COVID-19 RT-PCR swab test because it is mandatory for everyone who wants to enter the Philippines at this point in time. It must be noted that the registration process for each person is different. For the OFWs, you need to register through Red Cross. For the PAL passengers, that means the Philippine airline passengers, you will have your own registration forms. And for us, non-OFWs and non-PAL passengers, we need to register with PADLAB, and I will give you a tutorial how to do that online. Now here we go. First, you are going to go to padlab.ph/dls/passenger CIF, and this is the screen that you're going to see. For this registration form, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections. The first one is the patient profile. So here, you're going to put your passport number. That's it. And the type of test. Then, you are going to upload your passport image. Choose file, blah, blah, blah. First name, last name, middle name. Leave blank if middle name is not available. And your birth date, age, gender, civil status, single, married, separated, divorced, widowed, and your current nationality. After that, you are going to go to the Philippine residence section. Here you can find the address information needed, house, number, lot, building, province, city, municipality, barangay, region, and of course the email. Make sure that it is an active email because that's where they're going to send the PCR test result. So you can leave the home phone number blank if you don't have any phone number. And for the cell phone number, if you haven't gotten the prepaid SIM card for your own phone, you can use your family's phone number for the moment. So that's for the Philippine residents. section. Next is the employment information. Here you've got I am a frontliner, nurse, cashier, guard, teller, utility button, and I am a health worker button. Occupation, employer name, work industry, country of employment. Pretty short. For the fourth section is your travel history. Here, when was the last time you were in the Philippines? Your port or country of exit. For our case, it is Spain. In the port or city of exit, it will be Malaga. So this is the very port of exit on your first leg of your flight, not the layover or anything. So airline, sea vessel, flight, vessel number, stuff like that, date of departure, and date of arrival in the Philippines. Arrival airport, in our case, would be Manila. And you have to specify what terminal it would be. Of course, there's a button for OFW. And the purpose of your travel, you should probably choose returning resident. I don't think they will be okay with pleasure or vacation because that is still not allowed at this point in time. And that's it. You go to exposure history, just once. Question: history of exposure to known COVID-19 case 14 days before the onset of signs and symptoms. No, yes, unknown. Clinical information. Okay, so you go here. If you are not experiencing these symptoms, you just leave it be. And for the quarantine facility, you're going to choose the hotel that you have booked. That's why it's very important to book the hotel first, because it's needed for this form. And the last thing would be the preview, wherein you can check or double check the information that you have put in all those sections. Then click submit. And this one will pop up on your screen, the Privacy Act, and you can see there at the bottom, there's the button. Click on that. If you agree, then submit. Are you sure? Yes, submit. Wait for a little bit. Then it will say there, you have successfully submitted your form. Thank you. You have to do this for every person in your group. So for us, there's a total of 4 travelers, so I have to do this 4 times. And you will be given QR code. After, 2 to 3 days, you will get a response giving you the QR code for each traveler. So that's it for this PADLAB registration form. So that's all for now. I hope that helped you a little bit. Our flight is on December 14th yet, but you may like and subscribe to follow our journey back to the Philippines.